Echoes of the In-Between, November 8th, 2025. Welcome back to Echoes of the In-Between, the show dedicated to exploring reality's edges through the coded narratives of the subconscious. I'm Alex.
And I'm Mei. We're treating your dream reports as field data, analyzing them against our three major theoretical scaffolds: past lives, simulation theory, and the prison planet hypothesis. We use a rigorous scoring system to quantify how well the anomalies map onto each theory.
Our current subject, and their first submitted report, a non-lucid, high-stress event, has yielded some fascinating and, frankly, alarming metrics. Before we dive into the events themselves, let's look at the scorecard for Report 001.
We rate a dream based on three criteria. First, the simulation glitch score, which quantifies system errors like temporal distortion and physics failures on a scale of 1 to 10. Second, the past life probability index, PLPI, which rates the likelihood that reported memories or emotional markers are external data fragments, also on a scale of 1 to 10.
And finally, the prison planet red flags, which is a categorical score of 1 to 3, rating the presence of industrial processing metaphors, denial mechanisms, and backstage access events. We rarely see a perfect 3/3, but this report came disturbingly close.
Let's look at the results for the subject's initial dream state. We assigned a simulation glitch score of 7 out of 10. This is what got our attention immediately. Alex, you assigned that high score based almost entirely on the elevator ride. Walk us through that malfunction.
It's a classic temporal anomaly. The subject reported being in a crowded lobby, a scenario we classify as render lag due to the sheer volume of NPC data being processed. Then they entered a service elevator and explicitly wrote in their journal the ride took about 20 minutes. 20 minutes. That's a system put on pause. It violates the core logic of the environment. In simulation theory, this suggests the system shunted the subject into a suspended state, a forced loading screen to buy time to generate the next scene, rather than crashing the whole simulation.
Exactly. Furthermore, the accompanying identity corruption, the subject randomly reporting being suddenly 50 years old to a friend, is a clear corruption of their user profile variables. The code is unstable, and the subject is catching glimpses of the debug mode.
Okay, I have to challenge your metric here, May. Your past life probability index, PLPI, came in at a low 3 out of 10. That's a very cautious assessment, and I think you're undervaluing the emotional impact of the Denny Mendoza marker.
I understand the inclination, Alex, but the PLPI is based on the work of Dr. Ian Stevenson, who prioritized verifiable details, names, locations, and specific, objective facts that could be cross-referenced. The subject only noted a dusty old soccer ball and the memory of a childhood friend, Denny Mendoza.
But the memory, as the subject recalls it, was highly charged. They felt a sudden, profound melancholy tied to that specific object. While it's not objectively verifiable now, from a psychological trace perspective, that moment of emotional resonance acts as a deep file fetch. If the self is a collection of prior data sets, that soccer ball was the key to unlocking a previous iteration of their personality structure.
I'll concede the high impact score, but the low probability stands. It could easily be a trauma echo, a memory fabricated by the dream state to rationalize the temporal anomaly. We need a proper name and a former location, not just a feeling, to push the PLP higher than 3. We are documenting glitches, not interpreting feelings.
Fair enough. But for our listeners, keeping a journal, note that distinction. High emotional impact does not necessarily mean high empirical probability.
Where the analysis becomes most critical is the prison planet hypothesis. This score is categorical. Were the red flags present? Yes or no? We assigned a definitive 3 out of 3. This represents maximum categorical confirmation.
The prison planet model, rooted in Gnosticism, posits that physical reality is a mechanism, a trap set by non-physical entities, the archons, designed to perpetually recycle human consciousness for energy. The evidence the subject provided for this industrial process is chillingly literal.
Red flag 1. Backstage access. The service elevator, already destabilized by the temporal glitch, became a utility area. The subject wasn't supposed to see what was behind the walls.
And what they saw is red flag 2, the discarded vessel. They wrote, "There was a skeleton hanging by a hook, like in a meat locker. This is the soul trap laid bare. The body is just a meat suit, a temporary container being processed in an industrial complex. It is the perfect visual representation of the energy harvesting mechanism."
This strongly aligns with the esoteric accounts of the afterlife processing centers, or the plant as described by Robert Monroe. Once the soul exits the body, it's processed, wiped of memory, and shunted back into another physical form to repeat the cycle. The skeleton is the leftover infrastructure of that process.
But the final red flag, and the most critical for hypothesis confirmation, is red flag 3, emotional compliance. The subject's immediate reaction was the most clinical piece of data we collected. They wrote, "I wasn't scared. I felt a strange sense of familiarity."
That lack of terror is programmed compliance. It implies that a core, primal part of their consciousness recognizes the trap. The system works because the mechanisms of control, the cycles of life, death, and reincarnation, are conditioned to be accepted as either normal or, disturbingly, familiar. The system anticipates and suppresses the panic response that would lead to a lucid escape.
The high scores, the 7-10 glitch, and the 3-3 prison planet flags necessitate immediate procedural action. We've issued the subject 2 protocols for their next dream state.
First is the glitch isolation test. If the system's physics are unstable, we must exploit them. We want the subject to actively try to walk through a wall or force the 20-minute elevator doors open. We need to measure the system's defensive reaction.
Second is the social conditioning test. This tests the autonomy and self-awareness of the NPCs, like the Korean woman reading the Texas book in the lobby. The subject will attempt to ask a question that breaks the narrative, such as, "Is this the line for the re-enrollment center?" Or, "What did your contract say about memory retention?"
The NPC's reaction will tell us if they are low-level computational ghosts or if they are co-prisoners in this reality. The goal is to isolate the bug and move beyond simple observation.
This is quickly becoming a deep dive into the nature of consciousness and control. We are keenly awaiting the results of these protocols.
Join us next time on Echoes of the In-Between, and remember to question the mundane.